reasoned basis. Don't go there. Would you attempt to do that with a drunk? No. You know, would you attempt to do that with your 14-year-old whose hormones on feet? I'm thinking no. You know, so don't do that. All it leads to is frustration and actually division. Okay? What are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be connecting out there. We're not supposed to be of the world, but we're supposed to be out there in it. Okay? And a friend of mine used this illustration. He said, let's say you have this beautiful silver candelabra on a table, and that represents the church. It's gorgeous, it's bright, it casts light. And in order to get the table to look like the candelabra, the little people living on the candelabra go out with little silver buckets of paint and start painting the table and say, you're supposed to be like the candelabra. No, they're the table. You know, they're not ever going to be the candelabra until they become part of the candelabra. You know, and we do that all the time. We're out there trying to make the world look like Christianity. It ain't going to happen, and it's getting much, much more obvious. You know, we until fairly recently we lived in what was just presumed to be a Christian nation, and that everybody had fairly common values and common outlook. It is so not the case anymore, so that as the darkness gets darker, the light actually becomes much more distinct. It doesn't get snuffed, it becomes much more obvious. Okay? And all you got to do is hold up the light. You aren't going to change dark into light, just hold up the light. You know, that's the point. So yes, and my brain works much like yours. You know, I want to tell them, you know, chapter and verse and molecule and subatomic particle and genetics and you know, why God is so glorified and all that. They so don't care. You know, you are not even talking their language. There was literally no communication happening there. Okay? And until you understand where the battlefront is, all that does is lead to separation and frustration on both sides. You know? And we look weirder and weirder to them. I'm okay with looking weird, but I want to be connected. You know, I don't want to be causing more. If there's going to be persecution, I want to be persecuted for the right reasons. Okay? And there's probably going to be persecution. I'm good with that. Yeah.
Could I give you, in a short sentence, a circumstance that happened between me and my cousin and find out what you would have done?
Well, I'm not the final arbiter of truth, but yeah, give me a role play.
All right, let me get up so people can
Sure,
hear.
sure.
Okay.
Yep, here. I'm tucked in there a little bit.
I really relate to what Dr. Hudson is saying, because I had a dialogue with my cousin who's about 3 years my senior, so he's getting up there too, over a period of months, during which time I discovered he was a postmodernist. And I will also vouch for the fact that he was initially very open. But what I learned later through experience, that he would remain open only as long as I discussed openly his point of view. Okay? In other words, the reason he wanted he was open to give me his feelings, and they were that. They were not reason, they were feelings, is because he wanted me to validate that he had the right to have feelings. It wasn't that he was trying to persuade me to his point of view. My reason for existing is to reflect back his point of view. And I learned after a while that I would make him the most happy if all I did was accurately retransmit what he transmitted to him. But at one point in time, after trying to practice this, he finally asked me what my views were.
Big mistake.
And the way he did it was in a parable. So that's why I was dying to have Dr. Hudson respond to this. He wrote me an email and he said, I really expect you, Bill, because you really are passionate about what you believe. But he said, just for a moment, could you put aside your beliefs and just think about this situation and tell me how you react? And he said, suppose Jesus Christ walked in your bedroom tonight and woke you up and said, I love you, Bill, I am the Christ, but there are other ways to God. And I prayed, and I wrote notes, and I consulted the Scripture, and I prayed, and I worked, and finally I decided that the right response was to say, and I did, to him, Dear Riley, I have thought deeply as I can about how I would react to this hypothetical situation, and concluded that my response would be, who are you? Mm-hmm. That is to say, my Jesus Christ cannot tell a lie. And what you have stated as having him said is in contradiction to his own statements, therefore he must be an impostor. And that was my reply. He has never spoken to me since. I have lost my cousin. I regret that deeply. What would you have done?
Actually, I think your answer was even better than the one I would have come up with. You know, I would have basically just said that my best understanding of what Jesus said and would say is, I am the way, the truth, and the life. You know, we all wrestle with that one. You know, what about the lost that never heard this, that, or the other? But I think God really put the capper on that. Remember when Jesus was praying in the garden and said, if there be any way, let this cup pass from me? If there was a plan B, okay? If there's any plan B, let this cup pass from me. And the